There's a certain kind of woman you never forget. Not because she's the most beautiful, not because she tries to impress anyone, but because there's something about her that lingers. She carries a mystery that makes you wonder who she really is, long after she's gone. Jung would say she is a woman who has met her shadow and made peace with it, a woman who no longer hides her darkness, but moves through life with quiet power. Most women are taught to suppress their shadow, their anger, their desire, their ambition, their chaos, in order to be loved. They're told to be kind, gentle, pleasing, and soft. But there comes a moment when that softness becomes a cage, and the woman who dares to break it open steps into her dark feminine. This isn't about being cruel or dominant, it's about wholeness. Because everything you repress eventually becomes the thing that controls you, and when you integrate it, that's when you become unforgettable. Let's begin with what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. For a woman, that means reclaiming the parts of herself that she was taught to bury, her power, her sensuality, her voice, her truth. The women who embody this are magnetic not because they perform, but because they are real. The first trait of the dark feminine is emotional depth. She feels everything: joy, sorrow, rage, love. But she doesn't drown in it. She's not afraid of intensity. She can sit in silence while others panic, because she knows emotions are waves meant to be felt, not feared. A man feels safe around her not because she hides her emotions, but because she's mastered them. She can hold his storm without losing her center. Emotional depth isn't drama, it's presence. It's the ability to face your inner world without running away. The second trait is self-possession. She belongs to herself. Her time, her body, her attention are sacred. She doesn't chase because she knows her energy is her currency. She's not afraid to say no, to walk away, to wait. Jung said that what we fail to claim within ourselves, we seek in others. A woman who owns her inner masculine, her structure, her discipline, her focus, no longer needs a man to define her. She can love freely because she doesn't love from lack. When she enters a room, people can feel that she's not looking for validation. She already has it. The third trait is mystery. Not as manipulation, but as depth. She doesn't over-explain. She doesn't rush to fill the silence. She understands that the unknown is sacred, and that revelation should be earned. Men are drawn to her not because she's distant, but because she's layered. Each conversation feels like opening another chapter of a book that can't be finished. She's interesting because she still surprises herself. The dark feminine woman isn't performing mystery. She simply lives from her inner world, which few have learned to access. The fourth trait is embodied power. She is connected to her instincts, her sensuality, her physical presence. When she moves, it's deliberate. When she speaks, her voice comes from her body, not from her fear. This doesn't mean she's sexual in the superficial sense. It means she's alive. The body, Jung said, is the unconscious made visible. A woman disconnected from her body lives half a life. But a woman who trusts her body, her hunger, her rhythm, her yes and her no, becomes luminous. She doesn't need to demand attention. The room rearranges itself around her. The fifth trait is shadow integration. This is where her real magnetism is born. She's met the parts of herself she once judged, the jealousy, the rage, the competitiveness, the shame, and she's learned to listen to them. Instead of pretending to be perfect, she asks, "What is this feeling trying to show me?" When you stop projecting your darkness, it becomes wisdom. Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The woman who embodies her shadow becomes grounded. She doesn't react from old wounds. She responds from awareness. That's why she feels different. She's not pretending to be kind. Her kindness has roots. The sixth trait is calm confidence. She moves slowly, speaks thoughtfully, and doesn't rush to prove herself. She's not in competition with other women because she's already met the only competitor that mattered, her own insecurity. She trusts her timing. She's not afraid of losing anyone because she doesn't believe in scarcity. This calmness isn't coldness, it's stability. Men who meet her often say, "She feels like home," because her energy is steady. Jung believed that psychological maturity shows itself through serenity. The woman who has integrated her opposites no longer swings between extremes. She simply is. And the seventh trait, the most powerful of all, is sovereignty. She chooses. She doesn't wait to be chosen. She's the author of her own story. She knows that love given from fear is a transaction, not a connection. So she loves from fullness, not from need. She's not afraid to be alone because she's made peace with solitude. Jung wrote that the meeting with the self often begins with loneliness, the kind that strips away illusion. The dark feminine woman has walked through that loneliness. She's met the emptiness, and instead of filling it with noise, she filled it with herself. That's why she gives her heart its real. She's not offering it to be completed. She's offering it to be shared. When these 7 traits come together, something extraordinary happens. She becomes whole. Her boundaries are strong but not rigid. Her compassion is warm but not naive. Her presence is magnetic but never desperate. She doesn't play games, yet she's mysterious. She doesn't need to prove power because she embodies it. She doesn't need to say she's healed because peace has become her baseline. Men remember her not because she said the right things, but because she made them feel something ancient, a recognition of the feminine they've been seeking within themselves. Jung believed that every man carries an inner image of woman, the anima. When he meets a woman who has integrated her own masculine and feminine, his unconscious recognizes her as balance. That's what makes her unforgettable. But this isn't about men. It's about you. Because the real magic begins the moment you stop trying to be unforgettable to others and decide to remember yourself. That's the paradox of the dark feminine. The less you chase attention, the more the world leans in. The less you perform, the more powerful you become. You stop radiating hunger and start radiating wholeness. To awaken your dark feminine is to stop hiding from your own reflection, to look at your anger, your envy, your loneliness, your desire, and say, "You are welcome here." It's to stop apologizing for being too much and start honoring that you were never meant to be small. It's to realize that mystery isn't something you create. It's something you uncover when you stop explaining yourself away. When you begin to live this way, people sense it. You'll notice the world responding differently. You'll attract those who can meet your depth, and those who can't will quietly fade. You'll stop fighting for connection and start becoming the kind of presence that connection seeks. Every woman has a dark feminine within her, the voice that whispers, "There's more." The part of you that won't settle, that won't shrink, that knows peace isn't the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. This is your birthright. It isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to what you've always been before the world told you to dim your light. So tonight, when the noise quiets, sit with yourself. Feel the pulse beneath your skin. Remember every version of you that survived, every shadow you faced, every time you chose to rise instead of collapse. That's the dark feminine, not the fantasy of danger, but the courage of death. And when you finally meet her fully, you won't need to be unforgettable. You already will be.